and welcome to episode 41 of The Hollywood Knitter. Happy New Year! I'm recording on January 1st, 2019 from my home in Los Angeles, California. It is clear, like blue skies, probably low 60s, beautiful sunny day, like wonderful start to the new year. And one of the things I wanted to do today was sit down and record a podcast and talk about my 2018 year in review, 2019 goals, kind of go over all my current whips, and just I've been taking stock of where I want to be with my knitting, as well as making some other goals, but I probably won't share those with you. I like to make goals. I know some people don't like to make New Year's resolutions, but it helps me think and focus on some things that are important to me that I can then keep in mind. I can review it over the year and but just be reminded of what my goals were. And not to say that they don't change, they might, but it is what it is. I am a little nasally today. I did get a bit of a cold when I was visiting my family, so I have some tea in front of me. I should be okay. It hasn't been, just have slightly stuffy nose. Could be much worse, but I will have some tea in front of me so that I don't get whatever. Anyways, let's start with FOs, and you can see it. I'm wearing it. I'm gonna stand up. This is the Markley by Elizabeth Doherty, and you're not gonna be able to see my butt really, but kind of hold it up. I have a shirt underneath, so it's okay, but got an orange, kind of did orange and orange. I started this on September 20th and finished it on December 18th. So in time for Christmas. I did have a bit of a kerfluffle. I basically had knit almost the entire sleeve, and I think I Instagrammed, I'm almost done, we have a Christmas sweater. Then I realized my stitches were off. Like I'd picked up the wrong amount here, way back then. And I was like, well, I can live with it. But it ended up being the sleeve was like a 1/2 inch difference. And I couldn't live with it. So I ended up having to rip out and redo the whole sleeve again. So instead of being done, well in advance of my leaving, it took me another 3 days to rip out and reknit the sleeve. But I got it done. And I didn't wear it on Christmas. I wore it on Christmas Eve. I am totally happy with it. The yarn is, this is Miss Babs Tart. It's a fingering weight, wool nylon blend, in the pewter colorway, and then the orange is the French marigold, and then the kind of variegated, I'm not going to go closer, I'll go like that. The variegated with the orange in it, that's 716 knit in Kathy's Nice and All. And I knit the 49 and a 1/2 size bust. I ended up, my gauge was slightly different. I was +1 stitch on the stitch gauge and like -4 on the row gauge, which was fine because I just did the row gauge to the measurements which he provides. And then, so even though I knit 49 and a half bust, my final finished measurements ended up being, I think, 50 and a half, so like an extra inch. Nothing shocking. Yeah, I really like the way it fits. It's super comfortable. I think it's super flattering. I love the braid in the back. I love the stripes. I ended up having, the total sweater was 1,565 yards for me. I did, and I don't know if you remember, I had to buy one more skein of the pewter from Miss Babs in December to finish the sleeves. And I ended up needing about 10% of it. So I think those are 50, so like 50 extra yards to do the gray all the way down the sleeve because I didn't want to shorten it. And I crossed my fingers that Miss Babs is very consistent with their solids or semi-solids, and I was lucky. Like I can't tell which sleeve has which one, so it's perfect. Other than that, I was left with a lot of yarn. Well, besides almost full Miss Babs, I have almost 45 yards or 45 grams of the Miss Babs. Now these come in 120 grams, so they're bigger skeins. They come 500 yards, but I still have a pretty decent chunk left, and I have exactly 50 grams left of this the 716 knit. So I could have potentially have knit it with just one color, but I totally am happy with this. My niece did say when I was wearing it, and I was like, oh, look, my Christmas sweater. She's like, that's a Halloween sweater. And I'm like, no, it's my Christmas sweater. She's like, those are Halloween colors. I'm like, but they're my favorite colors. Therefore, this is my Christmas sweater. And these are totally my colors. You know, orange is my favorite color, and I love the gray. I think it's just such a comfy sweater. So anyways, that's the Markley by Elizabeth Doherty. It was very involved in the instructions, but it was very step-by-step. It was very clear. I love the details, you know, the Latvian braid along here. Because I did a 2 of the lighter and 4 of the gray, that worked really well since a lot of her decreases and things like that were 6 round kind of pattern. So it worked really well with when I did the decreases. I like how the slip stitch kind of hides where I was changing colors. You don't have the jogs, and yeah, it's totally awesome. Loving it. Love that I finished. The last project I finished in 2018 was a sweater, though I tried very hard to do another one. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about the Markley. Now we're gonna go into my whips and kind of lay them all out. Now, you guys know I'm not a giant whip girl. But I, as part of, you know, the closing of a new year, I wanted to look at everything and figure out when I was doing my knitting goals, what I wanted to do. Anyways, so the first thing I'm going to show you is the shawl, what I've been working on the most in the last week. And it is in a new bag from my mom that she gave me for Christmas. So I don't know if you remember last time I said, oh, I have a holiday project, but I didn't have a holiday bag. And I totally think that this is holiday colors now, though it's kind of more of a Hawaiian print. And then this little tiny piecing is what my mom learned when she came out to Stitches SoCal, and that was a class she took. So she made me a project bag. So this has my Adventurer Wrap by Amba O'Brien that I'm doing with my Suburban Stitcher Advent Calendar Minis. And I really, really wanted to finish this in 2018, but I just didn't. So let me show you how far, and I'm so close. So this is, here we go, a biased kind of feather and fan pattern with minis, and it starts here. This is day 1. Come on, focus, focus. There we go. And these are all of the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful colors that Diane knit up. Now, these minis are roughly 20 grams. That's what they're supposed to be, though in actuality I was weighing them and they're 20 plus to 21 and a half. And I did the wrap version, which is 142 stitches, which is coming out to a nice length, especially when I block it, and nice width. And I finished through day 23 yesterday. So this white is day 23. I have one more because I got 24 minis and then 1 full skein, and I'm not putting the full skein in. I'll show you that in a minute. And I must have just lost my mini. Oh, here's my last one. And I was knitting on it yesterday when we were, for New Year's Eve, we didn't do anything. So we were sitting around watching a lot of TCM. They had a Thin Man series, which is a series of movies, I think from the 40s or 50s that I really like. And they were doing like a marathon. And I knit as much as I could until my hand started hurting. So I finished on day 23 through most of it, and I only have day 24 left and bind off. So I fully intend to finish this hopefully today, but definitely this week, in time to be done with the, I think to be part of her Cal, it has to be done by January 5th. So I have time, and I just love it. And I just dropped the little ball. It's gonna be so beautiful. I did them, excuse me while I find the ball I dropped. I did everything in the order that she provided. Diane said that she, you know, put some thought into the order of the colors, and I went that way. And yeah, it was just fun. I didn't open it in advance, so I just opened them as I need them, and I had to skein some up. As you can see, I balled them all. And with them taking roughly each section 10 grams, I still have 10 grams of each one. So I still have, so she sent the equivalent of what, 24 times 2, 480 grams. So almost 5 full skeins, and I have half that left. So I have put them into a new bowl I liberated thanks to a Christmas present from my mom. Excuse me. She gave me a new fruit rack, like a 2-tiered fruit rack. So I took my bowl that I love, that I had been using, and I filled it with all of my minis for my linen stitch blanket, and all of the half ones from Diane's Advent Color are on there. So I would say the balls are mostly probably between 5 and 10 grams of all of these. And I'm gonna put this on my table, and it's gonna inspire me to work on my blanket. So pretty. So the Advent, and that's again the Advent Call by Emma O'Brien, which I really liked. And that has been the primary. I'm just gonna touch upon the other ones that I have. Well, here's one that I almost finished. I was working on it for a Christmas present for my niece when I got, and I knew because my niece is growing and I'm not as comfortable, you know, I had to, when she came out here, I had to re-knit her Rose City Knollers because they were too small. So I had started all this with the measurements I took when she was here in August, and she requested a knee-high tie-dye sock, and this is what we have. I did it all in ribbing. So this stuff, even though it looks really skinny, it stretches. But I didn't want to finish the length until I was there. So basically got there, I think I was roughly like right here. And then she said, oh, I want it here, I want it there. So I increased, and then she gave me the length, and she finally approved of the final length, and I cast off the first sock. So this is sock number 1, and I told her I was going to have to take it home and finish sock number 2 and would mail them to her, and she was fine with that. And then I cast on for sock number 2, and I'm this far down on the foot. And the yarn is Gale's Art Soft Blank. This was her holiday, part of her holiday club last year. What is it called? Winter is Born. So, and it's up really cool. And gives the tie-dye effect that my niece was looking for. So I have to finish these and then mail them out to her before her feet grow too much. I want to say as a side note, when I was there, it was really cute. So the Rose City Rollers, because I wasn't sure if she was going to wear the socks, and she totally was wearing them. I don't know if it was because I was coming, but she totally wore them, though I asked my mom if she wears them, and she says she does a lot. So I might make her some more socks. She apparently wears them and likes them, and that is good. And her feet are small and so fast. Excuse me. So these are knee-high socks for my niece. All the other ones haven't been touched. Just kind of go over them because they go into what I want to talk about for my goals. Still working on Keep Austin Warm shawl. Haven't really done too much since last time. This is a shawl by Frances Denoy and the Hill Country Weavers yarn that I got in Austin as a souvenir. So I looked probably about a third of the way done. So I need to work on that. And I have that in a Fat Squirrel bag. The other thing I abandoned when I started my niece's Sky socks was my socks for me from the Quarry Yarns. I had finished one sock and have this much done on the next one. So I want to pick these up again. The yarn is Quarry Yarns, and it's October, I think it's 2016. Yeah, colorway. So I want to finish those soon. And then the last thing almost the last thing is I'm still working on knitted knockers. I did very little, did a few more rounds, but have a plan to work on them, pick them up again soon. And then the last one to kind of show you of my last UFO in progress is I'm going to show you my linen slip blanket. Even though I haven't worked on it since September, I do have plans, and I now have a beautiful yarn bowl full of scraps to pull from. Here we go. I'm up to, oh, it's going to go out of focus. Focus. There we go. I don't know why it's trying to focus on something. Yeah, here it is with my fringe. Ooh, let's do the fringe. I'm up to roughly 40 inches and have another, I don't know, 30 I want to go. Roughly 32. I think I want to make it 72 inches long. I've been working on this blanket for, 2.5 years. I need to see when I started. Oh, January 2016. So 3 years now. 3 years. Yeah. Hoping now it's like a 5-year project. And I have that in a bag from Northern California Knitting Retreat. So that are all the projects. Let's talk a bit about my travels before I go into talking about 2018, reflecting on my goals, and talking about 2019 goals. Stash enhancement. So as part of the Suburban Stitch Advent Club, this was the full skein that she sent for your Christmas kind of gift. And this is Merino Sock 7525. This is called Jelly of the Month. And Diane's yarns are beautiful. So yeah, so I'm adding this to my stash. Family visit was wonderful. I flew out on Friday, full flight. Actually was delayed a little bit due to weather in Boston. So ended up getting in about 11. My brother and sister picked me up. And then, yeah, I did a lot of just hanging around. I went to the Patriots game with my family on Sunday, and that was cold. It was cold. We ended up staying, I think, to the third quarter, and then to try not to be stuck in a car getting out with traffic, we headed out. But it was fun. It's always fun to go to the occasional football game. We went with my nephew, which I hadn't gone to a game with my nephew, and he's actually not a Patriots fan, and that would be a severe understatement. But so he was trash talking the whole time. Luckily standing next to me, because I think my brother and sister and mom are a lot more fanatic fans than I am, and he was just trash. Like, he is 17 and just did not stop. So that was fun. And then we had Christmas. Everyone has various things to do, so we hung out, we played games, we watched movies. I just hung out. We didn't even do a lot or go out a lot. I just hung out with my mom and my niece and my sister when she was there, my brother and my dad, and that's really what I did. It was fun. Made it back on Saturday and had a little bit of this cold. It's actually starting when I was there. And yeah, then I really have just been chilling here. I luckily had Monday off of work. I will be heading back tomorrow after 2 weeks. Yeah, a little sad to be going back. I like being off work. Yeah, that's kind of that. So let's talk a little bit about year in review for 2018. Let me pull it up. My notes. So I do kind of a count, and I have for the last like 6 years, of number of projects, the type of project, and things like that. So in 2018, I did 34 total projects for approximately 10,200 yards. And I say approximately because some things like my Afghan that I finished, small ornament projects, things like that, I don't necessarily always track the yardage. It's stuff that has, it's I don't fully track in Ravelry, if that makes sense. So if I have a partial skein of something, but not enough that I think I want to keep it in my Ravelry, like as 20 yards or something like that, I call it as all used up, but then I have it in a pile and I use it for these other projects. So that isn't always tracked. So, and you look in Ravelry, I think I had 9,200 yards, and I just added roughly another 1,000 for yards I did not track in those projects. But that is on par roughly with what I did last year, which was 30 projects for 10,500 yards. So pretty equivalent. Of that, 34 projects, 6 were hats, 3 were toys, which were really my mother bears, 5 pairs of socks, 1 cowl, 2 baby items, 3 shawls, 3 sweaters for me, 10 other, and most of those other were my little tiny Christmas ornaments, as well as I think a bath mitt and something else. And then 1 lap size blanket, worsted weight blanket that I finished. So of those 34, 8 are for charity, and most of those are the hats and the mother bears, as well as the knitted knockers. I counted them as 1 project for other, but it was really multiple knitted knockers, but I counted it as 1. 8 were gifts, 17 were for me. Again, 8 of them were the Christmas ornaments, and then 1 item went into my gift box, which is when I knit things and I don't have any person in mind. So yeah, pretty on par with the previous year. I do seem, when I go back to 2012, I average, it's about 32 projects a year. I've ranged between 25 to 37. So roughly 30, 31 projects. And the yardage is between 10 to 12,000 yards is what it seems like. So I'm pretty consistent, though I felt I knit less this year. And maybe that's because a lot of the projects were small. So even though my yardage stayed approximately the same, a lot of that was in a few big projects, like this sweater, my Afghan, you know. So in terms of total projects, even though technically I looked like I was, a lot of them were very small. The ornaments, 8 of the ornaments, you know, they were very tiny ornaments. So really, I probably only did 26 or so normal size projects. But so it goes. Now, my knitting goals last year were to do charity knitting, which I did. I was hoping to do 5 mother bears. I only did 3, but then I also knit the knitted knockers and then hats that I gave to the brothers up at the Northern California Knitting Retreat to give away in their shelter. I wanted to work on my long-term blankets. I was hoping on my linen stitch blanket to get 18 inches done. I did 12 inches, so not as much as I wanted. I only did about 2/3 of it, but I did finish my worsted weight blanket, and that was my goal. So I love that. That probably goes down as my favorite project of 2018. I use that every single day on the couch. I love it. I wanted to knit from Q Stash, and I would say I was a fail at this. Last year, I had 18 items in the queue at the beginning of the year, and I think I only knit 2 items. Both of them were sweaters. I wanted to do Christmas gifts for my mom, sister, and niece. I accomplished all of that. Though technically my Christmas gift to my mom this year was from the gift box. It was one I had knit last year or the year before. But I had made her another shawl during the year. So, and then I wanted to finish all the Christmas tree ornaments for my tree, and I accomplished half of that. I finished 8 ornaments, and I really want to have about 24 ornaments. Maybe 20. My tree's a little small. I bought a tree last year. It's about, I don't know, 1.5 feet? No, probably 2 feet. Little plastic tree, and that's what I'm knitting my ornaments for, and they stay up all year round. And in fact, that was my only Christmas decor this year. I knew I was going to see my family. My family had 5 trees up of various sizes. 1, 2 full size, and then 3 half size trees in various places, and all decked out. My mom has Christmas decorations for days, and so I didn't need to Christmas. I didn't need to decorate here. I knew I was going there and would get my Christmas fill. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with what I did, except well, you'll see where I wasn't happy because we're going to talk about 2019 goals. The other thing that I sort of went and noted was my stash. So I didn't have a count on January of 2018, but I did take a snapshot from my Excel from Ravelry in February 2018. And at that time, I had 119 items and 42,800 yards in my stash. Today, I have 137 items and 51,690 yards in my stash. So almost 9,000 extra yards increase. So that goes into my 2019 goal. And the biggest one I've been thinking about are two things. One, I want to have a stash moratorium on things coming into the stash because, as I just said, my stash grew by 9,000 yards last year. I knit approximately the same. If I go based on what I average, I don't have a stash beyond life expectancy because that would freak me out. But I do have approximately enough yarn to knit for 5 years at the pace I normally go, which is way more than I need. Because then I'm not able to turn over the stash. I'm not able to get to things in a timely manner, and new beautiful things come in all the time, new patterns. Yeah, so I am having a moratorium on for 6 months. I want to do it for a year, but I want to go 6 months and evaluate where I'm at and see how it's going. And then I want to knit from my Q stash for real this year. As part of that, I have designated in my queue, so let me back up. In my queue, if something makes it in my queue, that means I have yarn for it. I have a pattern picked out and I have the yarn in my stash for it. So I have 17 items that are in my queue right now. Based on how I did last year, I don't think that it is realistic for me to say I will knit all 17 items. There's sweaters, shawls, hats, other things. I am going to designate 9 as part of the Make 9 that a lot of Instagram people and crafters are doing, and focus on making those 9 and then see what else I get done. So I want to knit 3 shawls, 4 sweaters, and 2 hats. They're all in my queue. I'm actually going to post an Instagram post of what those are, but that will get rid of, I think, all of my sweater quantity of yarn, which is something I want to do. And as well as finger and weight shawls, and then 2 hats. That's not to say that's all I'm going to knit this year, because it won't be. I also want to knit gifts again for my family, so that means I'll have to use acrylic for my sister, though I have some in my stash. I think my mom has requested a specific Patriots pair of socks. So as my last bit of shopping last night at 10:30, on New Year's Eve, I bought a skein of Patriots colored yarn, striping yarn, that will be coming to me. That will hopefully be the last yarn into my stash in a while. I also want to finish my Christmas tree ornaments, and that's being done with scraps. So I have, as I said, between 8 to 12 more to do, and those don't take very long. I also want to continue my charity knitting, pretty much do the same thing I did last year. Some mother bears, some knitted knockers, and hats, charity hats. And I want to keep working on my fingering weight blanket. I want to get 18 inches done this year, because if I get 18 inches done in 2019 and 18 inches done in 2020, I will be finished, and it will be a 5-year project. And that is good. That is what I'm going to go for. So yeah, those are kind of my goals. Most of them are the same as previous year. But one thing about before I start these goals is I want to finish all of my whips with the exception of my finger and weight blanket that I have, and basically get them all done. So the 2 pairs of socks I have on the needles, all of my knitted knockers, all the yarn I have for knitted knockers, and finish that up, because that charity, I'll be bringing them with me in April to the Knockers Retreat. That Keep Austin Warm shawl I have going, and then the Advent shawl. I'm hoping I can get all of that done maybe by third week of January or so. And then I can start on my Make 9. And I think my first one up, I've actually ordered them, numbered them in the queue. I think I'm going to start on the Granito by Joji Locatelli first. So yeah, I'm feeling the need to clean off the needles before I start new things. And it would have been nice if I could have got it done by the end of 2018, but I will take the first month of 2019 to do that, to basically get back on, not on track, but it just puts me back in a place that lets me work on other projects, especially sweaters. I mean, this project took me almost 4 months, and it's a fingering weight sweater, and of the sweaters I'm doing, 2 of them are fingering weight. I think one is going to be a DK weight, and I forgot, I think the other one's a sport weight. So they take me a while. So I fully expect to do less projects in 2019 if I focus on knitting from my stash and my queue, which was fine because my yardage should still be the same, if not a little more. So we will focus on quality over quantity, I guess, this year. So that's all I kind of got for my knitting goals. Hopefully you guys are all making knitting goals. It really helps. Like, I'm just getting everything organized today. After this, I'm gonna take pictures, works in projects pictures of everything, make sure everything is updated in Ravelry, and just basically have everything ready for me to work on. Let's talk about some upcoming travels. So I have made some more travel plans since I last talked to you. So I usually do a girls trip with my college roommates once a year, but the last 2 years they've been kind of put off because they both had babies one year after another. But now the babies are finally old enough that they can get away for a weekend again. So the weekend that worked for us was actually President's Day weekend in February, so next month. And the way we picked where we go is we all pick 2 cities anywhere in the United States, and then we pick one out of a hat, and that's where we go. So this year, and this time we're going to Miami. Previously, we've gone to Seattle, Portland, Atlanta, Austin, somewhere else, San Francisco, I think. Anyways, so it's Miami. I have been to Miami once for a bachelorette party 8 or 9 or 10 years ago, probably 10 years ago. So it'll be interesting to go back. And then the following weekend was the Virginia Beach knitting retreat. So rather than fly all the way back to the West Coast, to fly all the way back to the East Coast 3 days later, I decided I'm going to stay in Florida because my grandmother lives there. My grandmother is 86 and I don't get to see her as often as I should. So I'm actually going to fly my mom down from Rhode Island to hang out for a few days and see my uncle and my grandmother. And then from there, I will fly to Virginia and then fly home there. So I'll be gone roughly, 10 days or so. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's always fun to hang with girlfriends, and I don't get to see them nearly enough. And then I'll have family time, and then I'll have knitting retreat friends time. I will be so full up of people time that I'll be good for a long time. I have a little bit of the introvert of me. I like to hang around people and I like to do it, but it'll definitely be, I'll be full up on my hangout time for a while. So, and then the only other retreat or travel plans I have are the Knockers retreat, the Northern California knitting retreat in April, and Zombie and Apocalypse in June are the 2 I'm scheduled for right now. Yeah. I think that's all I have for you today. I hope everyone is having a wonderful start to their new year. The 2019, even though it's just another day in the calendar, it's fresh, it's clean. Just the previous year, whatever happened, didn't happen, that's in the past, and you can look forward to the future, which can be anything and do anything. And yeah, I like New Year's. I do. So you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as 1031. And there is a Ravelry group you can join. I post minimal show notes. Basically, all of the information in my projects is in my project page on Ravelry. I keep it updated. And then if I have any specific links or special links, I'll link them in the show notes. You can find this on my YouTube channel as well as my blog, hollywoodknitter.com. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful start to their 2019. That's a wrap from Hollywood, where fantasy meets fiber and dreams are knit. Bye, everyone.